Let's make some noise. Come on.
Yeah, right. Indeedy, Nick Foles, thank you very much. My own personal hype man, Nick Foles, in the house. We are 48 hours, less than 48 hours away from the kickoff of the 2025 NFL and Eagles season. And what better way to prepare ourselves than let's deep dive some Philadelphia Eagles. That's right. We're going deep tonight. We're going to do kind of adding on or following up with the Birds Blast that we kind of scratched some surfaces tonight. We're going to deep dive. I'm going to give you one last look at some of the things that made the 2024 Eagles that special, and some of the things that concern me about the 2025 Eagles. We're also going to take a look at some realistic scenarios regarding this football team in 2025. I know realistic might be the word that throws a lot of people off, and you don't want to sit here and listen to realistic, but you don't have to first. But we're deep diving Eagles tonight, and that should take us throughout most of this night. There is no Phillies. We got nothing tonight. The Mets did win, so the Phillies lost a half a game as they have the off day in Milwaukee before they get back at it tomorrow. We absolutely can continue the Phillies conversation. It's definitely on the table. We got our day in Philadelphia sports history. We got our card review and the of the night segment. All of that here on the Final Word with MattyB here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network. And welcome back to another fun-filled edition of said Final Word, Tuesday night edition. And unfortunately, after crunching some numbers and doing some math, it might be the final episode of the week. Tomorrow night, we got post-game coming at you sometime after 11 o'clock or right around the 11 o'clock hour. I'm not certain if I'm going to be able to squeeze myself into that little window after the post-game. If the game goes by fast and if the post-game comes down the home stretch at a decent hour, we'll do it. But if not, I'm probably going to take a mulligan tomorrow night. And then on Thursday night, of course, we're going to be bogged down with Eagles post-game and what have you. So there will be no show on Thursday night. I thought about maybe squeezing a show into a window, but that's not going to happen. So this could be in reality the final show of the week, which sucks, man, because I only did 2. But sometimes it happens like that, and it's no fault of my own. I'm here, I'm present. I just don't think I'm going to have the time. So let's enjoy each other while we have each other tonight. So, but yeah, we're going to get going tonight. Joe Hale's checking in. Hey, Joe, what's going on? As usual, deep dive into the Philadelphia Eagles should take me about, an hour and a half, maybe longer. But we're going to go over some numbers because I'm a numbers kind of guy. I like stats to sort of, they don't tell the whole story, but they tell a good portion of it. And as I mentioned on the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, there's some numbers from 2024 that are not favorable. We mentioned the touchdowns, the notorious slow starts. The Eagles scored 2 opening drive touchdowns all of 2024. And one of those came in the Week 18 game against the Giants with Tanner McKee at the helm. They also scored a putrid 8 touchdowns in the first quarter the entire season as well. So the notorious slow starts that this team got off to in 2024, has that been remedied? Is that going to be taken care of? I don't know how anybody can sit here, and I'll listen to the debate, and we can talk this if you like, but offensively, the slow starts, how have they been remedied when we're returning the exact same offense that we had in 2024? And does that also break down the narrative of Jalen Hurts being an elite quarterback? And how does the slow starts of the offense sort of contribute to Jalen Hurts and his lack of being elite? Was it Jalen Hurts' fault? Was it play calling? Was it not being prepared correctly? Coaching. And then as the Eagles showed us, and we're going to go over numbers, they're staggering numbers about points per first half versus points per second half in 2024. I'll give the Eagles the credit where the credit is due. They made a hell of an in-game adjustment. They made that a science in 2024. and had very strong second halves. But were the problems that sort of affected this team in first halves of games offensively, have those problems been remedied? And if they have, somebody please step it out for me. Tell me the step-by-step process on what's been fixed, because we got the same offense coming back in 2024. And that was with Saquon, by the way. This was with Saquon Barkley, the slow starts. So we're gonna reopen some old wounds. I guess that's the best way to describe what we're going to do tonight. One final time, we're going to re-dive into 2024, take a look at some of the things that were positive, because there was a ton of those, more than negative. But we're also going to take a look at some things that were concerning. And do we have a fix in place for them in 2025? So we'll get into all that momentarily. Looking forward to this conversation tonight. It should be fun. That was a good show. Thank you very much. Yeah, I enjoy working with Kyle. As I said, 6 seasons we've been doing it. I don't know what happened to his video, man. I lost that thing halfway through the show, and I don't know. He says he could see me, but I sure as hell couldn't see him. But trust me, we've gone through worse than that on that show. So no, it's great to have Kyle back in the fold. It's great to have the show back on. It's great to be talking about Eagles football again, relevant Eagles football. Less than 48 hours away from kickoff. I mean, how cool is that? It's probably going to be the longest 48 hours of my life, and a lot of your lives as well, as we count down the kickoff. I think the Eagles defense will be better in the first half. Again, Joe, if you want to outline that to me, if you want to show that to me, if you want to try to present that in a pie graph or pie chart, numbers and demographics and descending and ascending lines, go ahead, because we're going to get into the defense. Now, the defense was far from the problem of this football team. Now, in the first half, it was. I think around week 6-ish, around 5-6, they were rocking the 28th overall defense in the National Football League. They did get better as the season rolled on, and that was a huge part of why they won a Super Bowl. And anybody that tries to tell me otherwise, because it's funny, and again, I'm not going to use the H word, but I will use the J word. Jalen Hurts apostles. They will try to pollute you with the idea that Jalen Hurts was the main factor around winning the Super Bowl last year, that his elite play off the field and on the field, his leadership abilities and all that whatever, was the primary reason the Eagles won a Super Bowl. But they criminally forget how dominant the Eagle defense became in the back quarter of the season. And I'm going to break some numbers down to you tonight to demonstrate it. I've been yakking on about it for 7 months. And thankfully, with the start of the season, I could stop talking about it. But we're going to talk some of the contrasts between offense and defense. And we're also going to talk about how the defense got better, but the offense never did. The offense stayed as it did all season long. The main difference in the offense from week 1 through 4 through 5 through 18, of course, was the play of Saquon Barkley and the commitment to run that football. So we're going to get into some of that. We're going to get into a lot of it, actually. I think special teams has a big part also. Special teams, like what, punt returning? Punting? I mean, yeah, I guess it all does, but I've been watching, so I watch obviously some preseason football. I don't even know the rules anymore when it comes to kickoffs. It's so ridiculous. They've made it extremely complicated. They've taken something that doesn't have to be complicated and made it very complicated. Maybe somebody can explain to me the kickoff rules, because I'm out there in left field. I have no idea what you can and can't do, and you can't move until this happens. You can't go until that happens. But we'll break some of that down. But special teams is very important. I give you that, Joe. But let's get it going. Let's strap in, strap on, strap up. Keep your head, hands, and feet inside the car at all times, and let's roll with our day in Philadelphia sports history. But before I do that, let's remind the good folks here on the It's a Wrap Sports Network that Thursday night after the Eagles-Cowboy game is over, do not go to bed. That's right. I said don't go to bed. You need to come right here. I said here, as the It's a Wrap Sports Network will present the Birds Flyby, the official postgame show of this network. Steve Fuentes will be the one taking you through breaking down Eagles, Cowboys. Now, maybe because I'm not doing a show, maybe I'll co-host with Steve on the post game. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. But there will be a co-host, or the intent is to always have a co-host on that show with Steve throughout the season. So make sure you're here for the Birds Blast, or not the Birds Blast, the Birds Flyby. Make sure you're here for the Birds Blast every Thursday night at 7. Kyle Quinn and me we're on our way through the 2025 NFL season. We did a show earlier. If you missed it, go back and watch it on our YouTube. I also cut up a few shorts from it, so have some fun with that. But the quintessential and Eagle pregame show entertainment, the Birds Blast with 94 WIP's Kyle Quinn every Thursday at 7 on the network. And every Saturday, or whenever Penn State plays, immediately following that, you got the Happy Valley Huddle, Penn State Nittany Lion football postgame hosted by Mike Lauro. Make sure you're there for that. And tomorrow, we have no baseball today, but we're back at it. Thank God tomorrow. Phillies Brewers, Mike Lauro has you covered tomorrow, and I'll have you on Thursday. Busy day on the network Thursday. Phillies leading right into the football game, so that should be pretty fun day. And then some of the static programming we have here on the network, like the Attacking Third, which will be seen this week, tomorrow night at 9. Let's say again, Wednesday night at 9. The Attacking Third will be seen. We moved it from its Thursday 9 o'clock slot for obvious reasons, and we are going to show it tomorrow night at 9 p.m. here on the network. So make sure you're there for that. Along with another premiere of a show tomorrow at 7, Mike Lauro's Props, Locks, and Parlays, the no-pressure sports betting show for entertainment purposes only, tomorrow night at 7, and every preceding Wednesday at 7 p.m. until the end of the football season. Make sure you're there with Mike, having some fun. He'll give you the need to know for entertainment purposes only. And then, of course, the PNM and the AM, and then the wraparound every Friday at 10:30. So a lot going on here on the network, a lot of stuff doing this. Attacking Third. Yes, they will be on tomorrow night. So let's get rolling here with your day in Philadelphia sports history on this day back on September 2nd, back in 1979. Part of a 23-17 victory over the New York Giants in week 1 of the 79 season, rookie place kicker Tony Franklin nailed. Matter of fact, Joe, I know you're watching. Who was Tony Franklin and what made him unique? I'll give you 3 seconds to throw your answer in the chat. Let me see. I'll test Joe Hale's Eagles knowledge. 3, 2, 1. I don't see a comment. Joe Hale doesn't know who Tony Franklin is. It's a shame, because it's part of history tonight. So part of a 23-17 victory over the New York Giants in week 1 of the 79 season, rookie place kicker Tony Franklin nailed his first barefoot field goal in Eagles history, a 46-yarder in the second quarter. Franklin was one of just 4 known barefoot kickers in the NFL history, and the first 2 for the Eagles. Paul McFadden, later on in the 80s, would also kick barefooted for the Eagles. It's a shame that not many people remember the barefoot kicker. It was something, again, as we mentioned, there was 4 of them in the NFL. Gave those guys lots of props, man. Out there kicking footballs 60 yards with no shoe on. In 10-degree weather, snow, rain, whatever. They're out there booting field goals, and Tony Franklin was one of the better ones. And I thought Paul McFadden was one as well. A dying art form. The barefoot place kicking, or the barefoot field goal kicking. And I think he also place kicked too. So on this day back in 79, Tony Franklin became the first kicker in Eagles history to kick a field goal barefooted. And he would kick a lot more for the Eagles in his career here. So there you have it. Your day in Philadelphia sports history. Tony Franklin becomes the first barefoot kicker to kick a field goal for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that was brought to you by the Fighting's Final. Bet. We'll be back tomorrow night. Phillies Brewers. Pennant race is heating up. Can the Phillies build off of that character 10-8 win, or is it, is that just once again sort of the fugazi that the Phillies have been all season? Well, we'll see, and we'll be here to talk about it after the game. Mike Lauro has you covered, and we have you covered for every Phillies game post game as we're wrapping up the season. I can't believe it, man. 138 games down? Around 20 some odd games left? Stop the world. I want to get off, man. What has happened to my baseball season? Actually, I had a phone call earlier tonight with somebody setting things up for next baseball season, not from a broadcasting standpoint, but from an umpiring standpoint. It looks like I'll be heading down south in January to start my college baseball season. So that's interesting. But more about that later on. All right, so as promised tonight, 48 hours, less than 48 hours away from the start of the season, Eagles-Cowboys Thursday night at the Link. Following up on a very, very fun, rousing edition of the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn, it got me thinking. We rehashed some old, let's call them old wounds. We tore open some old, scabbed over wounds on that show. And we talked about some of the things that haunted the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles. Now, a lot of people will look at it as, why are you talking about that stuff? It doesn't matter. They won the Super Bowl. And I can respond in kind with, you're right. They did win the Super Bowl. But we're done with the Super Bowl. And this is what concerns me more than anything from the Eagles Nation, from Birds fans near and far, homer and non-homer alike, that we walk onto that football field, or I should say we walk into that football stadium tomorrow, or we sit down in front of our TV set, wherever that may be, and we're carrying residual 2024 vibes with us, expecting the same result that occurred in 2024. And we should have already learned this lesson years ago, coming off of Super Bowl 52, that just because it's primarily the same team and just because it's only 6 months or so later does not make it the same season. And I think that is the number one sniper, and I'll use an Army thing, sniper that Eagles fans got to be aware of, is don't come into this game expecting the product that walked off the field in New Orleans. Now, with that being said, does that bash your hopes of an Eagle dynasty? Does that bash your chances of the Philadelphia Eagles winning another Super Bowl? It shouldn't. Because I'm not saying that I don't believe they're going to win again. And I proved that earlier tonight by picking a Buffalo Bill, Detroit Lions Super Bowl and the Buffalo Bills winning. But it shouldn't bash or dash your feelings of an Eagles Super Bowl repeat. They're still a good team, but they may have to find a different route to the Super Bowl, a different way to climb that mountain than they did last year, because there's going to be new potholes in that road that they're going to have to navigate through. Now, we are going to spend one last segment, one last few minutes together tonight, talking about some of those potholes that were left over from 2024, because there's a few that to this date I haven't seen remedied on a consistent basis, because the season ended. But yes, the season ended with them on top. But these problems plague this team in 2024. These problems dogged this team in 2024. And they made Eagles fans very frustrated. And I alluded to one of them already with the notorious slow starts. 2 opening drive touchdowns in all of 2024. Nobody has yet to be able to produce to me the reason why that was. We saw a myriad of reasons that it really kind of was. I had a few theories around that. It looked like for the majority of games, the Eagles came out unprepared. They did. And whether that would be with play calling, whether that was the playing of the quarterback, a lot of costly penalties in those opening drives that would push the Eagles back, turnovers during the opening drive, play calling issues, quarterbacking issues. There was a myriad of things that cost the Eagles on opening drives last year. But I was mystified, because I remember writing it down after the Week 18 game against the Giants, because that was the end of the season, saying, wow, 2 opening drives that resulted in touchdowns for the entire season. And when I saw it again today and I was getting ready for the Birds Blast, I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that. I absolutely forgot about that. So what evidence has been put forth at this point that tells you that that's not going to be a problem in 2025? The evidence that I see is that it's the same offense. Now, we have a new offensive coordinator, Whether or not he's calling plays, whether or not he's relaying plays, what his involvement is in the offense is at this time, I don't know, and we'll find out as the season wears through. But what evidence that you see will get this team off to better starts? Because there were times they would bury themselves in the first half of games. Now, having Saquon Barkley rushing for over 2,500 yards definitely sort of, made that better, because I think I don't know if there was ever a game heading into the half where I thought the Eagles were out of. They could be down 23-10, and I knew they would have a strong second half, and they undoubtedly did. And we'll get into some of those numbers. And as I said earlier at the top, maybe they're just built for in-game adjustments, but it's a dangerous, there is nothing out there that says the Eagles are going to have the same type of production from Saquon that they had in 2024. And there's no evidence that really supports, well, maybe there is. I mean, I guess you could kind of go both ways. I guess I got to be fair. If I'm going to sit here and say that there's no way that they can not expect the same season from Saquon, maybe they come out in 2025 and they have notorious fast starts. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe I got to be more fair. But let's go over some numbers, shall we? And these are based off of season. These are season numbers. So first, we're going to talk red zone. So for 2024, the Eagles were 39 for 67 attempts inside the red zone, 58% effective. On paper, 58% inside the red zone is not bad. It's not. But you definitely, if you're looking at this from a NFL elite standpoint, you want to be 60% or better. But 58% is pretty damn close. And there was a lot of things that the Eagles, the offense that the Eagles generated for the majority of the season was outside of the red zone. But 39 for 67, that's not terrible. It's not. It's actually very good. You would like to have it up there in that 60% tile. But I have no issues with 58% inside the red zone in 2024. Let's get into the points. And again, here we go with me belaboring the point of not being able to score points in the first half. I was on about that all last season on the Birds Blast. I think every week my keys to victory, one of them was to a fast start. And I think it was today too. I think one of my keys to victory was a fast start because I have yet to see one. First half points for the Philadelphia Eagles in 2024. The Eagles scored 211 points in first halves of games in 2024. That's 12.4 points a half a game. So they were scoring, we'll use the rule of 5 here. We'll round down with 12.4. So we're talking 12 points. They averaged 12 points per first half in 2024. That's terrible. That's JV level type stuff. But coming out of the half, they went off for 252 second half points for a 14.8. Again, using the rule of 5, we'll round that up to 15. So 15 points per second half and 12 points for first half. Why? What was the secret sauce there? Why did they come out so consistently not ready to play and score points in the first half? And then throw a switch at the half and come out and just literally put, foot to ass on just about every opponent they faced. And typically it was the same recipe. It was Saquon breaking off 2 or 3 major runs that would put the game out of reach. But where was that in the first half? Again, hinting on some of those first half struggles. 2 opening drive touchdowns the entire season. 8 total first quarter touchdowns the entire season. Where did those first half struggles come from? And what was the remedy at halftime that fixed it? You go from 100. What was it? You go from 211 points, 12 points a half, to 252 points, 15 points a half. Where was the big turnaround for the Eagles at halftime? And why were they so bad with getting off to fast starts? And then the fourth part of that equation, have they fixed it? And what does that fix? As I said, it's the same offense, minus the new offensive coordinator. So I can see some questions about, you got the same offense, but you got a different guy playing, calling plays. Does that equal a fix? And how important is that for you to see this team get off to better starts in 2025? Play more consistent offense in first half of football games in 2025. Score more than 2 opening drive touchdowns the entire season in 2025. Or are you in the camp of it's how you finish the game, not how you start? I think we need to find some sort of balance to that. You're 14-14, that would be a nice little balance. But their slow starts to games last year is a concern to me. And again, I don't know what the fix of that is. I have not seen, nor have I been privy to anybody giving me any sort of drop in knowledge on me saying, okay, this is how they're going to fix that. Because we're going in with the same quarterback, same running back, same offensive line, same wide receiver, same tight end. So what tells me that it's going to be any different in 2025? Dave, how you doing tonight, man? Good to hear from you. Good to see you. I hope all is well. Penalties. The Eagles committed 97 penalties, both offensive and defense. This is not per one unit. They committed 97 penalties for 683 yards in 2024. That is 5.7 penalties a game. Again, using the rule of 5, we're going to go up to 6. 5.7 penalties a game for 40 yards. So, why do I keep losing this? 6 penalties for 40 yards a game. I'm okay with that. I mean, 40 yards is 40 yards, but 6, it's a little elevated. I'm not going to lie, but I don't remember too many instances in games where their penalties cost them games last year. Now, the penalties could be sort of the problem of why these drives didn't get off to fast starts. I did see a lot of them, a lot of opening drive penalties on this team. Majority of the penalties were done at that moment. Again, we go back to what was the reason? Was it preparedness? Were they not ready? Was it coaching? But I can live with 5 penalties or 6 penalties for 40 yards. I can live with that. I'm not asking for perfection here. I get it. And those numbers could be a lot worse, and they could be just a moderate better, but I can live with those numbers. Turnovers forced. Now, here we go. I'm going to start now talking and gushing one final time about the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles defense. And this goes out to all you Jalen Hurts apostles, all you Jalen Hurts apologists, too, all you Jalen Hurts disbelievers. What am I talking about? I'm a Jalen Hurts disbeliever. No, all you Jalen Hurts propagandists. There you go. I'll use a MattyB word there. Before I get into this turnovers thing, I want to state one final time that I, in my humble opinion, believe that the Eagles defense is the number one reason why the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl last year. Number one, above all. Without their contributions to what they did in 2024, the Eagles would not have won a Super Bowl. Now, not taking anything away from Saquon. That was a hell of a performance too. Matter of fact, I made the argument in the past that you took the defense's contribution out and you had Saquon and Jalen. Do they win a Super Bowl? Maybe. You take Saquon out of the mix and you have the defense and Jalen. Do they win a Super Bowl? I'm not sure. But if you take so I'm pretty high on the fact that the defense was the number one contributing factor. And in one area, in one specific area that I'm about to talk about, turnovers forced. For those of you that have listened to this show for any length of time, have heard me go on and on about this. And I promise you, tonight's it. Tonight's the last night I'm doing it. I'm not going to probably have a show tomorrow. And before you see me again, it'll be next week. And we'll already be through the Cowboy game, bitching about new stuff for 2025. But to put this in some sort of context for you, heading into the Week 9 battle against the Dallas Cowboys in 2024, the Philadelphia Eagles defense had forced 7 turnovers. Terrible, right? 7 turnovers in 9 games. When we ended the season against the New York Giants on week 18, the Philadelphia defense had blown that number from 7 to 26 in the remaining games of that season. 7 to 26. 1.5 forced turnovers a game. Again, using the rule of 5, let's round that up to 2. So the Philadelphia Eagles defense from week 9, to include that week 9 game, because they forced 5 turnovers against the Cowboys in that game. And that they're off and running after that. The Eagle defense was forcing 2 turnovers a game on average by the end of 2024. That's different level world stuff. That's how you win Super Bowls, God damn it. They were taking the ball away from their opponents on average twice a game. That's absolutely incredible. They one-upped it in the playoffs. I think through what? 3 games? Was it 3? Yeah, 3 games of the playoffs. They forced 13 turnovers. Over 3 turnovers a game in the playoffs. So tell me right now to my face that the defense was not the number 1 main contributing factor to the Eagles' Super Bowl success. They forced, they forced 3 turnovers against Kansas City in the Super Bowl. They sacked Mahomes 6 times. And then you have the gall and the audacity to give the MVP to Jalen Hurts? Personally, I'd be offended if I was a member of the Eagle defense. They put in a performance. They crescendoed their season by saving the best for last against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And they get little to no credit for the contributions that they put forth in 2024. And it's unfortunate because now they're gone. Now you got 6 players that were contributing members of that defense no longer with this team. So it's not like you can go back in time or you can say, you know what, we'll start appreciating it tomorrow. You can't. 1, it's a new season, and 2, 6 of them no longer play here. So you missed your opportunity. And a lot of you are going to sit there and say, no, man, I got it. I was aware of it. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You weren't really aware of it. You had some fantasy that Jalen Hurts was the reason why this team won a Super Bowl. You had no clue the level of dominance that the defense went to, especially down the stretch and especially in that playoffs. 7 turnovers to 26 to finish the regular season and 13 in the playoffs. 13 turnovers in the playoffs. What was it, Washington? Right? No, who was the first one? Green Bay, the Rams. 13 in 4 games. I did 3 games didn't sound right. 13 turnovers in 4 games. And they saved the best performance for last in Super Bowl 59, sacked Mahomes 6 times and caused 3 turnovers. And you have the audacity to give the Super Bowl MVP trophy to Jalen Hurts. Every member of that Eagle defense should be mortified. But as I said, you wasted your opportunity because 6 of them are gone. About half of them left. Turnovers committed. Eagles did a really good job with this all season long. 15 turnovers committed for the entire season, both offense and defense, mainly, of course, the offense. That's less than 1 a game. Again, we're using the rule of 5, it's 1, but the actual number is 0.8 turnovers. So continue to protect the ball like they did last year. Sacks allowed in 2024. The Eagles' offensive line / Jalen Hurts / offensive play calling allowed 43 sacks for 263 yards in 2024. That's 2.5 sacks. We're going to use the rule of 5. We're going to round up to 3 for 15.4 yards. So we're going to round down. So 3 sacks for 15 yards a game. Not criminally bad. Now you can attest the sacks. And again, it's not that bad. It really isn't. Now you might want to think, well, how much would it have been if Jalen Hurts made better timely decisions with the football? Or how much less would it be if Jalen Hurts actually knew how to go through checkdowns and progressions quick? probably could cut that number maybe in half, because we're not going to blame Statland you, right? No one ever does that. But that's not really a problem. Even with Jalen Hurts' inability to read defenses fast or get the ball out quick, those numbers were still very manageable. And I can live with that. Sacks by the defense, 43 sacks for 280 yards. Again, these numbers are somewhat similar from the offensive side. 2.5, let's round it up to 3, for 16 yards. So the Eagles basically got to the quarterback as much as the other teams were getting to their quarterback. Now, that number, even with players like Sweat, players like Jalen Carter clogging up the middle, Zach Bond, who else was coming off that edge? We're now down a couple players. You had Milton Williams up front. Yeah, those guys up front. Now, those numbers are going to go down. Now, that's a concern for me, because with this revamped defensive line, minus Brandon Graham as well, 3 sacks a game for 16 yards a game, it's not nothing to be like jumping up and down about. It's not terrible, but it's middle of the road, maybe even bottom third of the league. And how much worse is that going to be now that we're going with a whole different direction with the defensive line? You know what I mean? And again, this kind of goes back to my number one contributing factor, that it was the defense that really won this Super Bowl for us. How much are the Eagles really going to miss Milton Williams? How much are they going to miss Brandon Graham? How much are they going to miss Josh Sweat? How much are they going to miss CJ, GJ, BJ, KJ? How much are they going to miss Darius Slay? I mean, these Isaiah Rodgers. Well, we can go on and on. And again, the sack numbers weren't through the roof even with those guys. And how are they going to look now? So that's an area of concern. Where is the pass rush coming from in 2025? It got home, not as much as it should in 2024, but it did find its way. Is it going to be worse in 2025? And this is one of the unknowns about this team heading into the season, about where the pass rush is going to come from. There's a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas going on the front now. If this guy does this, if that guy does that, if he does this, if he goes here, if he does this, we should be fine. I mean, that's a lot of speculation heading into the season. And again, those numbers weren't through the roof to begin with. Where do we find consistent pass rush in 2025? They were 19 for 28 on 4th down. So they went for it 19 times, they went for it 28 times and were successful 19 times. Pushing their way to victory 67% of the time. Probably the best in the NFL. Most times attempted and most times successful, for obvious reasons. So there you go. Just wanted to kind of go over some of those numbers. Mickey, how you doing? Would you say the Eagles have the best O-line? In relation to what, Joe? Why could the Eagles not score points in the first half of games last year? Where was the O-line then? I mean, of course, Saquon ran behind that thing for close to 3,000 yards. I get you there. Yes, they have a very good O-line. But I go back to my original question when I started this little deep dive. What was the problem about the Eagles scoring first half points in 2024? And more specifically, why couldn't they score on the opening drive? We've forgotten that, right? Time heals all wounds, but not me. I'm coming back to rip off them scabs, man. Why could the Eagles not score on their opening drives consistently in 2024? It was with that offensive line, same offensive line that plowed the way through the second half. Why couldn't they do it in the first half? But yeah, to answer your question, obviously they do have a very good offensive line. 100%. And again, all of this is sort of like, and I know a lot of you are rolling your eyes at me right now. I can't believe he's doing this. They won the Super Bowl. What else does he want? Well, I want another Super Bowl. And that's what you should want too. And again, at the very top of this deep dive, I contexted it by saying, Eagles fans specifically need to understand that when they sit down tomorrow night or they go to that stadium tomorrow night. Oh, by the way, did you see the Eagles asking people not to come down and tailgate due to the septic shortage? They might as well just have come to people's houses and driven them down. Why would you poke the bear, man? They're going to come anyway. Now they're going to come more of them because you told them not to. Anyway, I lost my train of thought. The deep dive is this. So when you go to the game or you sit down to watch the game, I just want every Eagle fan out there, and I have a small request. You know, me and you guys, me and the Eagles Nation, man, we're simpatico, man. We're lockstep together, right? I'm one of you. I am one of you. You know, I know you don't claim it, and I know you ain't happy about it, but I am one of you. Just understand that this is not an extension of 2024. That this is not 2024 part 2. And I mean, Kyle kind of touched on that earlier. That it's a whole other struggle, a whole other season. What you accomplished in 2024 is going to be immortalized up in the rafters at Lincoln Financial Field tomorrow night. But then it's on to new business. And that's climbing a whole different mountain with other teams trying to knock you down. Matter of fact, I don't even use the analogy that you're on top of the mountain anymore. You're not. You're on the bottom of the mountain with everybody else trying to get back up to the top. You were on the top of the mountain last year. And I hope Eagles fans go into it with that mentality, because I fell into the trap in 2018. I won't lie. When the Eagles didn't come out firing all cylinders in week 1 against the Falcons, and Kyle alluded to it today, booing them at halftime because I scored like 7 points. And then the way the season of 2018 sort of transpired, I was like, this ain't 2017. What the hell is this? They weren't popping off 45 points a game anymore. What is this? It's a struggle again. It's not supposed to be that way. Oh, yeah, it is. But just go into that mindset that 2025 is a whole different struggle. And some of the things that I'm bringing up here tonight, like the notorious slow starts, 2, and I'm going to harp on it because this is my last night I can harp on it. I can't harp on it after this. 2 opening drive touchdowns the entire season. The entire season. The Eagles scored 2 opening drive touchdowns. 8 total first quarter touchdowns for 2024. 12 points on average per first half in 2024. Where are the fixes to those? We've forgotten about that stuff. We've been awash in Super Bowl glory for 6 months. Now it's time to wake up and readdress those problems. And have the Eagles done that? Then that's obviously the big question. Are the Eagles are the ones that need to fix that, not us. And I've been asking all night, somebody tell me what they think, 1, the reason was they couldn't get off the fast starts, and 2, what do you think the fix is? Because I don't know. I can tell you what I think was the reason. I don't think they were prepared to start most games. I thought they were out-coached, or I should say out-game planned. And it's those scripted plays, right? Those first 15. That's what was more frustrating, most frustrating about their inability to get off the fast starts. It was the first 15 plays of the game. The ones they're supposed to be practicing all week long. And they still could not get off the fast starts. Why? Was it the offensive coordinator? Is not Shane Steichen, Jesus Christ. Kellen Moore, was he the reason? I want to know. And I'm being honest. I don't know. I have theories. And I don't know. And more importantly, I don't know what the fix is. Eagles CB2. Absolutely, Mike Laro. Worries the hell out of me too. Hi, Matty. Not worried about Thursday night. Okay. Matty, the Eagles had number 1 defense last year. They didn't need to score on the first drive. So, come on, man. Come on about that. Barbara's right. To a point, she's correct. Because we went over some of the gaudy numbers from the defense. The forced turnovers. And that thing, again, I'm goading on it I'm gushing and goading on it one last night. I'm not doing this after tonight. Moving on to 2025 business after the show tonight. One last time about rallying the cause to give the props to the defense of the 2024 Eagles that they have not received since winning the Super Bowl. The total unappreciated of nature of not receiving by giving away the MVP trophy to Jalen Hurts for the Super Bowl and leaving the defense standing there like, huh? 6 sacks to Pat Mahomes. We forced 3 turnovers, and you're giving the MVP trophy to him? who benefited and jumped on our backs, and we led him all the way? So I'm going to gush one last time about that 2024 defense. And Barbara's right to a point. Something did happen throughout the course of a game. Some magic juju, whatever, happened where they would force about 7 turnovers along the way. Saquon would rip off about 3 70-yard runs, and we'd be off the victory. Right? But is that sustainable? And is that sustainable with a defense that lost 6 members of its starting and contributing rotation? I think it's easier to try to find out how to fix the opening drive offense than sit back and think back how great the defense was. Again, I am not, and I'm glad Barbara brought it up, because once again, my last night to gush over the defense and the criminal, unappreciative nature of this fan base to not give the defense the credit that they deserved in their part in winning the Super Bowl last year, and just giving it to Jalen Hurts blindly because he was one of the benefactors of it. So I'm going to spend my last night of gushing over the 2024 Eagle defense. Matty, these players weren't Kellen Moore's. They were the same as the other years with Hurts. Everything is centered on him. So Barber brings up a good point. But wait, Barber, you got to be careful. You're talking about an elite quarterback. You're talking about the greatest quarterback in Eagle history. Are you telling me that the Eagles offense struggles in games because of their quarterback? That doesn't add into the narrative of Jalen Hurts being elite. So you're saying, and maybe I'm wrong, and please help me, Barbara, if I am. You're saying that the Eagles' number one issues with getting off the fast starts offensively was the play of their quarterback. I don't know, Barbara. Those are fighting words around here. Well, not around here. Around here, this is a safe space. You know that. But in some circles, you just threw down the gauntlet. The same Gestapo employed by Howie Roseman and employed by the Phillies is now on the look for Barbara for taking a shot at the franchise elite quarterback. And in all fairness, Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback. Not elite, but he's a very good quarterback. But could our offensive struggles been because of the quarterback? Now, I've done some number work throughout the season because that's just what kind of a guy I am. And I've thrown up stats and, charts and all those things. Is this the one I want to talk about? Yes, here it is. The eternal question from 2024 that I have asked about a gazillion times and have never received an answer from anybody. Jalen Hurts attempted 361 passes in 2024. Only 48 of them, 48, were to the middle of the field. Why? Somebody, the Jalen Hurts apostles, the followers, the Kool-Aid drinkers, somebody, the homers, somebody come in and tell me why this team would not allow their quarterback to throw across the middle of the field. Or am I so unplugged from the NFL in 2025 that 48's a lot of attempts across the middle of the field? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's not. 48 passes that Jalen Hurts threw in 2024 were across the middle of the field. Why? You have an elite quarterback on your hands. Why don't you just cut him free? Maybe this has something to do with the slow starts too. I don't know. I'm looking for answers here. And I'm not being a wise ass. I'm really looking for answers. Mike Lara, I'm not Dijon will be on your other corner. Huh? I'm not on Dijon. We'll be on, I don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Saw an interview with Joe Montana today. Oh, that's an elite quarterback. I know that. They asked him the top 3 quarterbacks. He said Josh Burrow and Herbert because he likes their style and actually throws the ball, not running so much. Listen, Jalen Hurts' ability to run the football should not be held as a detractor against his status as an elite quarterback. Matter of fact, I guarantee you Montana, Marino, Brady, all of them wish they could run the ball like that and be athletic as athletic as that. But as we know, running the ball is not all it is. It's the quarterback IQ. Now, again, I'm sure I'm going to get the Gestapo's going to pay me a visit. That's all right. They know where I'm at. We've met before. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback, and I knew this was going to get slung right into a Jalen Hurts conversation, but it's not. He's not a bad quarterback. He's a good quarterback. He's not elite. And once again, we've proven we don't need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. He was good enough to help the Eagles win. But is he good enough? And I guess we can full circle this back to him. Is he good enough with a defense that might take some steps backwards in 2025? Because me and Kyle Quinn, I think we all, not just me and Kyle, but I think everybody out there can agree to one thing. Even if the Eagles were returning all the players in 2024, there's going to be that step backwards in these first few games because of the way the NFL handles the preseason. Nobody plays, and it's a shame because now you're getting into the real product, and you're going to have to go through about a month of some bad football as teams sort of work off the rust. And that's really a shame to the product of the NFL. But so jumping the gun, if the Eagles start the season out 2-2, 3-2, I think it was first 5 weeks, I guess, would be what we're looking at here. 2-3, 1-4 would be terrible. But if they get off to a bad start, you take that with a grain of salt. You do. You just have to. And that goes for every team in the league. And let's just get off to an 0-5 start. If you're off to an 0-5 start, then it's pretty much curtains for you. But 2-3, 2-2, 3-2, something around there. I mean, it is what it is. You got to kind of work out some of the hitches. So, we're not going to be able to judge this product until later on in the season. That's just the way it goes. And does the same thing happen last year that happens this year? And I mean, Kyle reminded me of this as well. Heading into the 2024 season, nobody on our show, no real relevant, mentally stable people were saying the Eagles are going to win a Super Bowl. There was nobody out there because there was way too many question marks, especially on defense. But that group rose and rounded into form. Now, could the same thing happen in 2025? Sure, absolutely could. But I thought, going back to my dynasty building and, Howie Roseman, I thought that, as a defending Super Bowl champion, you should be entering the season with a little less question marks about certain ability of players than you should with more question marks. I just thought maybe as a defending champ, you'd have most of those problems worked out already. And the Eagles seem to be heading into this season with the same questions that they were heading into last season with, which makes me doubt the elite ability of Howie Roseman, which, of course, is no news here. But all this could be from you, and the Eagles could run roughshod over the NFC, NFL, 17-0 on their way to the Eagle dynasty. And I hope that's the case. But I am here to be the counter drug to all that glorious happiness. There's me. Just be ready. Be ready for the step down, step back. Be ready for a new way of doing things. Whether that works or doesn't work, we don't know. Be ready for the same problems that affected this team in 2024 to sort of reemerge in 2025, because I don't know what the fix is for any of the problems yet. Obviously, the Eagles didn't trust Hurts because they are not aggressive in the passing game. I'd rather a quarterback throw some interceptions being aggressive throwing it. Listen, Barbara, I know we got in that argument last night with that MP guy, and he was right. I stand corrected. Jalen Hurts only had 5 interceptions, and I think it was you who brought it up, that the reason why he only had 5, for some reason, I thought that number was like 20. I don't know why. Then I went back and I was like, you know what? It's the turnovers. He fumbles the ball. He's been turning the ball over a lot, and he does. I think he had 9 lost fumbles last year, and I think he fumbled the ball in total like 15 times in 2024. But you mentioned something. You mentioned it. Jalen Hurts' lack of interceptions in 2024 might be the same reason why he only threw the ball to the middle of the field 48 times. is because and again, we have this memory loss here. We forget that heading into 2024, the team was pass heavy. That's all they wanted to do was throw the football, and it wasn't working. So then in the bye week, they brought out the shiny new car, Saquon Barkley, and handed the ball off. And the rest is history. And Jalen Hurts' ability, not his ability, but his responsibility to put the team on his shoulders severely went away because they took that responsibility away from him. They took the responsibility of Jalen Hurts having to try to win the game through the air away from him. For whatever reason. You can speculate on the reasons. You can speculate on the 2-2 pre-bye period where Jalen was not playing well. The passing game was not doing well. Maybe they didn't have confidence in him. Maybe they wanted to incorporate Barkley more. Maybe it was Lane Johnson stomping his fist on Nick Sirianni's desk like they wanted us to think it was. Maybe it's a lot of different things. But whatever it was, something was changed during the bye week that took the responsibility away from Jalen Hurts to win football games, which is they were playing to his strengths. And again, I'm not faulting them for that. But what do we do with that here in this town? We send Jalen Hurts into this elite status, which makes other fan bases laugh their asses off, by the way, because they see the same thing I saw. But Barbara might have a point there. A very good point. If the Eagles win, you will give credit to Howie what he deserves. 100%. I gave credit to Howie when they won last year. 100%. We're on to a new year. But Joe, in your humble estimate, do you jettison 6 major contributors from your defense and 1 major contributor from your offense and replace them with unknown draft picks that may or may not step up and type Class B free agents in a Super Bowl defense year? Do you do that? Is that the way you do it? Is that how you build a dynasty? And again, I'm going to go right back to Howie. Let's bring this little pretty graphic up. I'm glad I get to break these out one last time. Here's the 6 major contributors that went bye-bye in 2024. 5 defense, 1 offense. There's Mekhi Becton right down there, dead center. Did we do enough to replace the contributions of those individuals, especially on the defense? And is that how you defend your title, with going into a season saying, you know what, thanks, guys, I appreciate your help, but we're going to go a different way with Class B free agents and some draft picks that may or may not be ready? So is anybody talking about that? No, because God forbid you step on King Howie's toes. But that's a major problem, don't you think? Just say it. Just keeping it real. Jalen 10 to 24, ranked 24th lowest. Yeah. But why? And Barbara brought up the point last night, and I gave you your props, by the way. You were right. You only had 5 interceptions. It was the other turnovers that were all this, the fumbles added in. It just kind of confused me. But why did he have 10 turnovers? Why did Jalen Hurts stop throwing interceptions? Barbara brought it up. She says because they took the responsibility. Well, I said it, but I think Barbara meant it. But I said they took the responsibility away from Jalen Hurts trying to win football games with his arm. Do you agree or disagree with that, MP? Is that something that you could buy into? Because I have this stat for you too. Again, last night of these stats, the last night that I'm going to run these graphics, I'm getting my money's worth. Jalen Hurts attempted 361 passes in 2024. Only 48 passes were to the middle of the field wide. Maybe MP can help me out with that. Maybe he can answer that question for me. Why wouldn't the Eagles allow Jalen Hurts to throw to the middle of the field? Was it because they didn't trust his ability to check down or make progressions or thread balls into tight windows, which then takes away a lot of the opportunities for interceptions? Yes. And they said, Jalen, go up top, go on the outside, live with the YOLO ball, and we'll take what we get. And it worked because they did that and it worked. Oh man, I'm getting behind. Arch Manning had a bad game on Saturday, but he was better than Hurts was in winning 3-4 playoff games. He is a passenger on the team. Listen, there's no doubt, again, and I don't want to turn this into a anti-Jalen Hurts conversation. I really don't, because I am not a Jalen Hurts hater. By no means am I. I recognize the contributions of the quarterback. I recognize what he did, his part, in helping this team win a Super Bowl. He is a very good quarterback. He is not an elite quarterback, but he is a very good quarterback that won a Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl MVP, which, again, the Eagle defense should be pissed off about that, but that's a story for another day. So I don't want to turn this into an anti-Jalen thing. Has there been any team in any sport that doesn't have a weakness heading into a season? Right, MP, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of this, but I highlighted a few of the weaknesses, and I asked for what potential fixes they could be. And losing all those players was one potential weakness. The notorious slow starts of this team offensively in 2024 was one. Two opening drive touchdowns the entire season. 8 first quarter touchdowns all season long. What's the fix for that? And does the potential step down in the defense, does that affect that? Does that make it a little bit harder for the Eagles to try to stay with teams? I kind of went over that. You know, we went over a few of the problems. Becton is back. Back with who? Joe Hale, every year a quarterback wins a Super Bowl. Not all are good. I think about some below others. I mean, listen, yeah, well, no, you got to give it. Any quarterback that plays in the NFL. Oh, I mean, Nick Foles, for example, who is my hype man. You know, he won a Super Bowl and he won a Super Bowl MVP. But I never hear anybody ever having a conversation about Nick Foles' elite status amongst NFL quarterbacks. Because it's a ridiculous conversation to have. Because Nick Foles was not one of the elites. He was very good for when he played in this city. For this team, he was good. For the rest of the teams, I don't know what was going on, but he was a very good Eagles quarterback. But for some reason, we don't give Nick Foles the ounce of the respect you give Jalen Hurts. And I think I ran a graphic not too long ago. I don't have it handy. But Jalen Hurts' numbers at this point in his career are somewhat similar right now to Nick Foles' final numbers. And, of course, Jalen's career is still happening. But I don't think you need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl. It helps. Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes, I mean, it helps. I'm old enough to say I don't care if they finish dead last this year. They gave me a Super Bowl last year in a blowout. Okay, again, listen, I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. But this is what every Eagle fan has dreamed about. Long before you showed up, long before I showed up, we have the opportunity. And again, I don't know how old you are either, but I can tell you from my own standpoint, I lived through the Steelers dynasty. I've lived through, well, I shouldn't say lived through it. I remember it. It's the back end of it. I lived through the 49er dynasty. I lived through the Cowboy dynasty. I've lived through the Patriots dynasty, and obviously I'm living through the damn Chiefs dynasty. So the common question that I've had during all that time was, why, Lord, why not us? And right now, like it or lump it, the Eagles have an opportunity. They have an opportunity right here, right now, to seize that. One of the themes of our show was today on the Birds Blast was, are we approaching the dawn of an Eagle dynasty? And I don't think the question, if the Eagles somehow find a way to win a Super Bowl this year, we are not, that's not even a question anymore. It is the Eagles dynasty. We are currently still living in the Chiefs dynasty. Like it or lump it, we're still there. But if the Eagles go out and win the Super Bowl this year, it is the dawn of an Eagle dynasty. And the opportunity is right here, right now for that dynasty. Have the Eagles position themselves in the best possible position to do that? That's the question. And every Eagle fan, again, I'm not generalizing all of this. I'm saying me, has been tired of watching other teams get that recognition. Do you know what it was like to live through the Cowboys dynasty? Now, I lived through the one in the 90s. I didn't go through the one in the 70s. And I don't even know if the one in the 70s constituted as a dynasty. But I had to go through that damn thing in the 90s as a 20-some-year-old. You know how sucky that was? As a kid in the 80s, the 49ers, whatever. But do you know how sucky that was to have a Cowboys dynasty? So now we have a chance to have our own dynasty. And I'm just wondering if we have positioned ourselves in the best possible way to accomplish that opportunity. MP, I had no turnovers and I am a good quarterback. Totally agree. I'm not a Hurts diehard lover, but the coaching staff did its job and did what they had to do. Yeah, I know, 100%, man. 100%. For whatever reason, they did. I agree with Kyle Quinn, Eagles versus Buffalo. Kyle Quinn earlier, when we revealed our picks for, we went over the division winners, the division last place teams, our wild card picks, our championship game picks, our Super Bowl picks, and our Super Bowl champion. Kyle predicted an Eagles Buffalo Bills Super Bowl. I did not predict that. If you missed the show, it's on YouTube right now. Go ahead and rewatch it. It's the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. I will tell you, I predicted, and I'll give you my predictions. I'm not going to break them all down divisionally, but I'll tell you, I got the Commanders winning the NFC East. I do. I think the Eagles step back. I think the Eagles make the playoffs. I think they're a 10-win team, but I don't have them winning the division. But I have Detroit and Buffalo in the Super Bowl. And the reason I think both of them are, I can definitely see that. And it's going to be cool to see two teams battling for their very first ever Super Bowl championship. Somebody's going to come out of there off the list because someone's going to win their first. So that's my prediction right now, based on what I see of the Eagles. Sorry, I got here late. Had my fantasy football draft. Got CeeDee Lamb at 9, as much as I hate having a Cowboy on my team. Well, I got Christian McCaffrey at 9. Would you rather? I mean, the problem with McCaffrey is he never stays healthy. I'd rank the Chiefs' so-called dynasty below the Steelers and 49ers and Patriots, far below those teams. But if the Chiefs win this year, though, Barbara, what is that? How does that opinion change? Does that opinion change? The Chiefs win this year and re-energize their dynasty. Does that change? I actually think that that Green Bay wins the division over Detroit. Yeah, I think Kyle had the same thing. I think Kyle went that route too. But that was our deep dive of the Philadelphia Eagles. Final time that I'll reveal or go over those tired numbers of 2024. It feels good to exercise those demons because I've been talking about them since February or March. So we're going to move forward. And tomorrow, less than 48 hours from now, we got Eagles, we got Cowboys. And we got you covered here on the network. Make sure you're back for the Birds Flyby immediately following Eagles Cowboys tomorrow night. That was fun. I enjoyed that. Good conversation. All right, let's go to the Of the Night segment. All right, let's still got some comments rolling in here. I know I wouldn't change it for me. The Steelers 4, 49ers, Patriots 6 are much better. So how would you rank them? I'll tell you what. Let's do this real quick. Let's rank the dynasties. Now again, I don't have. I was like a little kid at the end of the Steeler dynasty. Matter of fact, I don't even think I think I just remember the Steelers being good. I don't even think I was alive, but I don't think I was conscious aware of them winning Super Bowls. But you know, if you look at the team that they had back then, I mean, they had the defense, they had a very good quarterback in Terry Bradshaw, and they had Lynn Swann, Franco Harris. I mean, they had a lot of weapons. So I'll tell you what, Barbara, based on that, on the mystique of it all, let's put the Steelers at number 1. And then I got to put the 49ers at 2. I watched Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and company do things to teams that I never saw anybody else do before. And it was amazing, right? So I got the 49ers at 2. And then, as begrudgingly as it is for me to admit this, you got to give Tom Brady his props. I think when it's all said and done with, right now, if you're looking at the greatest quarterbacks of all time, I mean, Brady's got 7 rings that he wins 7 in his career. And what he did now, to me, that's what an elite quarterback does. Everyone's going to sit here and say, well, Montana won all those Super Bowls with those players, and Terry Bradshaw won all those Super Bowls with those players. Gronk, Randy Moss, and who? Who are the other dominant players that ran in and out of the Patriots during Brady's time? It was Tom Brady. That's the reason why the friggin' Patriots were winning all those Super Bowls. I, as much as it pains me to say that, honestly, I can't stand Brady. But as much as it pains me to say that, the guy was the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, I don't know how you can even argue, and how you can even place Jalen Hurts in that same conversation with Tom Brady is ridiculous. Putting Joe Montana and Dan Marino and talking about them. Now, Marino never won a Super Bowl, but he's still one of the greatest ever played. But putting Jalen Hurts and Tom Brady in the same conversation is stupid, right? I mean, it's just dumb. But as I said, as much as it pains me, I got to put the Patriots at 3, and then the Chiefs at 4, and then the Cowboys at 5 because I hate Dallas. But I mean, you could make a case that the Patriots and their dynasty is number 1. I mean, it was longer. It was probably the longest one out of them all from beginning to end. It was 0-1 through what? Didn't it end with the Eagles in Super Bowl 52? No, they won Super Bowl 53. So 0-1 to 19. I mean, the thing lasted almost 20 years. So, I mean, you got to give it to them, man. Now, that's what I want, man. Patriots didn't win dynasty because they last long. Yeah, again, I just went over that. I mean, a close to 20-year run. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And, talking about Jalen Hurts and Tom Brady in the same breath is just utter ridiculousness. But, all right, other night segment, we are continuously our spotlighting on the Flyers as we get closer to I saw pictures today of the Xfinity Mobile Center. They unveiled their new sign. And I also saw pictures of the Flyers ice. It's down. It's up. It's out. The ice is in at Xfinity. And so we're getting closer and closer to the start of the season. And we're going to continue spotlighting on the players that I think are going to be part if the Flyers are able to figure out how to goddamn get through this season. These are the guys that are going to take them. We've been stuck on the defense, and we're going to stay we talked about last night. I believe it was who was it last night? Oh, yes, Mr. Travis Sanheim. We're going to talk about his penciled-in running mate, a player that came here in the midst of some controversy. He was acquired for disgruntled first-round draft pick Cutter Gauthier from the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Came here with a lot of potential, a lot of pedigree, a lot of offensive firepower for a defenseman. A lot of injury history, a lot of broken, shattered dreams and promises, an opportunity to jumpstart his career. And yes, judge for yourself. Jamie Drysdale, the unicorn right-hand defenseman. You always need a good one of these. Hasn't worked out yet for Jamie here in Philadelphia. His first year was kind of injury plagued. Last season, got to give it to him. 70 games played. He had some injury issues early on, but then got over those quick. 7 goals, 13 assists for 20 points, and a friggin' I had to check this 3 times. Yes, that is correct. He finished the season with a -32. Now, that's attributed to many different factors. One, he was on the ice a lot of ice time, and the Flyers defense sucked. Okay, so they're the 2 main factors, but simply put, Jamie Drysdale, now that his best friend Trevor Zegras is here, maybe his career finally blossoms. I don't know, but I'm starting to get a little impatient with Jamie. I'm not asking Jamie Drysdale to play a lick of defense. I just want you to know that I never expected him to play defense. But what I expect him to do is be that quarterback on that power play with that right-handed shot. He's one of the better skaters on this hockey team. He can move amazingly laterally, amazingly vertically. He can stop on a dime. He's a very good skater. He just needs to figure himself out offensively. I need him to be that sniper. I need him to be that facilitator from the blue line. And I need that minus 32 to go down. Way down. But I'm getting frustrated a little bit with Jamie Drysdale. I'm starting to think that this might be a bust. And I'm starting to think that's the reason why Anaheim decided to move on from him, because he just wasn't ever going to work out. Cam York is number one defenseman in my crosshairs. Jamie Drysdale is a close second on turning their seasons and careers around, because I really believe if they can turn things around, they'll greatly enhance the Flyers' ability to win hockey games, especially Jamie Drysdale. Again, he's that unicorn right-hand defenseman. Everybody needs a good one. And he's shown moments and flashes throughout his career of being a superior offensive defenseman. It just hasn't stuck, and I need it to stick. And I need to never see minus 32 ever again. I don't think I've ever seen that for an NHL player who's played 70 games in a season. But that tells you everything you need to know right there. So Jamie Drysdale needs to have himself a bounce-back career or a bounce-back season for the Flyers to be anywhere near respectable. And there you have it. My spotlight player of the night is Jamie Drysdale. Drysdale, LOL, fingers crossed with him. Yeah, I hope it works. MattyB, Jimmy Johnson would have stayed head coach for the boys. They would have won at least 2 more bowls. I don't know. Would they have? So the one in between. So the back-to-back Buffalo Bowls, right? Then it wasn't it the Chargers and 49ers the year after that? And then it was the Cowboys and Steelers. So you're telling me that Jimmy Johnson would have stopped Steve Young that year? That's a pretty big get. That's a pretty big get. Am I right about that? Is it the Cowboys went back-to-back, and then they lost, then the 49ers beat them. And that was the Steve Young Charger year, right? And then the year after that, it was the Cowboys and Steelers. By the way, Dave, bringing up the Cowboy dynasty of the 90s, so the last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, I was 20. Was that 23? I was 23 years old. My oldest daughter, will be 20 this year. Oh man. Oof. Ooh. Minus 32 scares me. It petrifies me. But we need a legitimate number one goalie. That's the key to winning everything. That and the number one center. 92, 93, 95. Yeah, so it was the back-to-back Buffalo years, right? They beat the Bills. Then it was the Chargers 49ers when Steve Young got the monkey off his back. And then it was the Steelers Cowboys with Larry Brown and his multiple interception night, right? I think one of the only times a defensive player won the MVP. Troy Aikman was a passenger on a stack team. Maybe. I don't give Troy Aikman a lot of props. One, because he represented one of the most vile periods of Dallas Cowboy history in my Eagle life. But yeah, man, he did have a stack team, and that's what the whole Micah Parsons trade. When I heard it, and I will get to the card review here in a second, but when I heard the Micah Parsons trade go down, and before I heard the package, I was like, oh my God, did they just do it again? Did the Dallas Cowboys just pull off another Herschel Walker like trade? Do they have like 8 draft picks coming back? I'm like, oh no. And then I find out what they got for him. I'm like, what? I mean, huh? So dodged the bullet on that one, honestly. But all right, let's get to the final part, the best part of our night, our card review. All right, the card review tonight. We're staying in the modern era. Last night we talked about the 2024. What was it? The Stars of the MLB Dylan Cruz rookie card. Tonight we're 2025 tops. I don't know if I've profiled many of this year's tops cards so far, but we're going hometown. This one. This is one of our own. A pretty interesting card because it comes in many different variants, and it's silver foil rainbow hologram. Tops 2025 Series 1 card. And I speak of the immortal Bryce Harper. And there's Bryce there. As you can see, he's standing there in his alternate uniform with the silver background. Now, you can kind of see where the light's catching it a little bit, where the rainbow aspect comes in. But if you really kind of shine this into the sun, the silver foil would come up as a rainbow sort of tint. Again, this is an insert. It's a parallel. I'm sorry, not an insert, but a parallel to his Series 1 base card, which is this Zach design, but just plain paper, right? This card's about a $4 baseball card right now for a Bryce Harper 2025. It's pretty interesting. And I don't know if you guys saw this on Twitter a few weeks back. Matt Strom was put out a message to anybody that was that had low population Bryce Harper baseball cards. To send him a message because Bryce Harper himself was looking to get into the hobby, and he was looking for cards himself. I don't think this classifies as a low population card. This variant of the 2025 tops card. There's a variant running. So picture this card, but his head really big, like a cartoon head on it. That's right now worth about $3,000. And that's part of the 2025 top set. That's a very low population baseball card, if you could find that. But this is not a low pop card. But for $5 for a Bryce Harper in 2025 silver foil with a rainbow hologram, I'll take it. And classic tops design. This again, I don't think we've really talked too many of 2025 tops. And this, if we haven't, this is what they look like. This is the design that tops went with in 2025. Kind of. Not as, Topps has sort of started using the entire front of the card as the card, not paying much attention on borders or graphic borders and stuff like that. This year, they went a little sort of back old school. They shrunk down the picture on the front, spent a little bit more time on the graphic, spent a little bit more time on logos and borders. But it works for me. It's okay. It's a decent card. It's not my favorite Topps design, not my worst. And it's a Bryce Harper. Anytime you run across any kind of Phillies cards, you definitely have to keep them. And any kind of Bryce Harper cards, let's be honest. But this card will catch you about $5 right now on most major sites. And pretty snazzy looking card. Again, I love the silver foil. I love the hologram version of this card. And here it is. Maybe I can get the light to catch it. And you can see the rainbow aspect of it, or maybe not. You just got to believe me, it's there. But here it is. Here's the card in its physical form. PSA 9, PSA 10 may catch you about $15, but as a raw card in this condition, about $5. There you go. There is your Bryce Harper. What am I doing here? Your Bryce Harper 2025 Series 1 silver foil hologram, rainbow hologram card. And that is your card of the night. Switzer was head coach of the 95 team. Yeah, and that was the team that beat the Steelers, right? He was also the head coach of the 94 team, wasn't he? Eli Manning won Super Bowls on terrible teams. He actually won playoff games and Super Bowls with his plays. And so did old boy catching the ball with one hand. Let's not forget that. Sad to see that Juan Soto is so much better than Harper, and he's 6 years younger. I just accept it. Shocking that Bryce would want pics of himself. Well, no, I don't think he wants that, but I guess Matt Strom is a self-described baseball card junkie, sports card junkie, and maybe he just got tired of hearing about it, and maybe Harper wants to get into the business. And why not start getting into the business with your own stuff? I mean, Bryce Harper's baseball cards are pretty valuable baseball cards, especially his low pop, back on his rookie year, back his national days, stuff like that. Again, low population cards, variants, inserts, refractors, cards like that, chrome. So why not start somebody out collecting baseball cards by collecting their own? So it's actually brilliant strategy. Is there a card of Bryce in his Mets gear colors? No, not that I know of, not yet, but be on the lookout for that. That's a good point. My friend asked me who was more conceited, Harper or Aaron Rodgers. I said tied. No, I don't think it's. I think it's Harper by a long shot. I mean, I think it's Harper by a long shot, man. Yeah, I do. Take care, Matty. 2 more days. 48 hours, Barbara. Less than that. Have a good night. Thank you for joining in tonight, Barbara. Always a pleasure. As I said at the top of the program all so long ago, this might be it for the final word for the week. I just don't know if there's going to be a window to get me in. Tomorrow, we got a 7:40 start time out in Milwaukee. So the post game is not going to be coming at you till about 11. If the game ends early and they can get the post game in early, I'll come on tomorrow night. But I don't know if I won't be able to. And I'm not going to try to tempt fate on Thursday night. Thursday night's for the Eagles. We'll do post game and then call it a night there. So if this is possibly my final show of the week, I want to wish everybody a happy week, a great week. We did 2 of them. I was prepared to do more, just couldn't get the time in. But we'll see what we can do with the rest of the week. Any reason why the Phils and Brew Crew were off tonight? As far as I know, Dave, it works out like this. So I don't know if you've noticed this over the past few years, but and I do this now. I look at the calendar, I look at the schedule every year, and I look at this aspect of it every year. They're actually guaranteed holidays off. I think they're guaranteed 1 or 2 holidays off a season. A team is. The Phillies, I think they had Memorial Day off, and they're guaranteed another one, but they couldn't get Labor Day off. So they gave them the next best thing, which was the day after Labor Day. If you look at the schedule, I believe they're guaranteed 2 holidays off a season. And if they can't get you to one, they got to give you the day after. It's union, man. Now, next year is going to be really fun because they got games on all the holidays next year. Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. They're playing straight through next year, which is the way it should be. But as far as I know, it is literally a union thing. And it's because they got to have Labor Day. They got to get credit for the Labor Day holiday. That's exactly what I was told. And I believe that's the reason. Will I be on Sunday? Yes. Why wouldn't I be? But yeah, I'll be here Sunday. Everybody in the MLB Network was talking about the Phillies' day off. Weird. Yeah, I'm telling you, I think it's to do with the holiday. Wow, an off day in Milwaukee must be paradise. Yeah, what do you do? Go to Schattsbury, if that's a real place. All right, folks, listen, that is going to do it for me. Again, if I do not get back here until Sunday, I want to wish you guys a great rest of your week. We got Eagles football. We'll have a lot to talk about come Sunday if I don't see you till then. But I will see you on Thursday for the Fightins final. And I'm sure I'll see you at some point over the weekend for the Fightins final as well. But I will be back on Sunday, guaranteed. I can't be so convincing about the other 2 days. I'm not sure if the window is going to get me in here. But tomorrow night, we're back with the Fightins final. The attacking third will be seen tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. We're moving it from Thursday to Wednesday for 1 week only in order to get it in so that we can concentrate on the Eagles on Thursday night. So make sure you're there for those shows. And then also the premiere of the Locks. What is it? Lock, Stock, and Barrel? No. What is it? Sorry, Mike. It's too rhymey, man. Props, Locks, and Parlays. The premiere of the Prop, Locks, and Parlay show tomorrow as well. So you got the Props, Locks, Parlay at 7. You got Tacking Third at 9. And you got Phillies Brewers postgame at postgame. And then Thursday night, the big night, you'll have the Fightins final with me taking you right into the Eagles game. And then post-game, Birds Fly By here on the network. So we're just getting started this week. You guys have a great, great rest of your night. Mets cut it into 5.5 tonight. Big win. Yeah, 12-5. 5.5. 5.5. Night. All nice job, man. Thank you very much, MP. I appreciate your support. I appreciate everyone's support. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, help us out. Till we talk again, you guys, go Birds. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your day. See ya.